Joining me now is the Finance Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Thiagarajan. Mr. Thiagarajan, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. As I pointed out, this is now a matter that's back in the Supreme Court. In 2013, we had seen the Supreme Court decline to intervene, saying that this does not amount to bribery or a corrupt practice under the People's Representation Act. This committee that the Supreme Court has now said will be set up to look at the way forward. I want to get your first thoughts on this reverie culture debate that the Prime Minister has talked.
I feel like I'm watching a farce play out. You know, I think all reasonable people can easily understand what Ms. Iyer, Mr. Roy, Mr. Qureshi have said. All of these are logical, thoughtful, based on the Constitution, based on rational thinking, based on statistics. And what we have playing out in the Supreme Court is a farce. There is nowhere in the Constitution that the Supreme Court gets to decide how the money of the exchequer, the public, should get spent. All of a sudden, I don't understand what new constitutional amendment has been perceived by the Supreme Court, where they think it's their business to decide how elected officials should spend the money of the public. I don't understand how the same Prime Minister who talks about freebie culture, his biggest state in the country, his Chief Minister, has announced free bus rides. I don't understand how the same Prime Minister who talks about freebie culture being bad came and inaugurated a scheme to give 25,000 rupees per person subsidy by the ADMK government for two-wheelers to 1 lakh women. This is just pure politics trying to divert from the main issues. And any statistic anywhere will tell you that this is complete farce. There's no greater value to it than farce. It's like a bad comedy.
Okay, you're saying that this is a farce that's playing out, it's a bad comedy. But on the issue that's being brought up, and this is what the government's argument is, that this is short-term politics, it's short-term gains, as opposed to prioritizing what they believe are multiplier impact on the economy by way of capital expenditure, short-circuiting the economy by putting stress on the exchequer. That's the argument that the centre is making against this culture of freebies. Your response?
Who are they? They have a budget deficit of 7%. Government of Tamil Nadu has 3.5. Who are they? They spend 35% of their revenues on interest payments. We spend 20. Who are they? They have taken 2 lakh crores off of their crony capitalist taxes and put it onto the backs of common people. What have they achieved that tells you that in any way they are competent? Who are they? They amend the FRBM Act whenever they want. That allows us also the right to amend our own respective acts. Since they cannot stop that, they use the back door of Section 293 of the Constitution, saying, while you owe us money, we'll enforce a borrowing limit on you beyond what your legislature puts to you through the back door. This is just dictatorial, authoritarian overreach by people who have shown no tendency, no capacity to execute anything. Now they're worried that other people are going to do well, and it's going to make their incompetence or inability to deliver look bad. So they divert the debate. Who are they? What basis do they have to say that they know better than anybody?
Okay, I'm going to continue with the response that's coming from the central government. And essentially, the argument is that when state governments offer free electricity, offer free power, and other such freebies, quote unquote, that they're borrowing from future generations and denying the present, denying the right of the future generations from having access to better opportunities, because you're going to then have a state government that is stressed and dealing with stressed finances. So act with responsibility, act with prudence. That seems to be the message that the centre is handing out at this point in time in the context of the freebie debate.
What has the centre done? In the last 7 years, the centre has more than doubled its debt outstanding. Whose children are going to pay that debt? Children of the planet of Mars? Aren't those going to be paid by Indian children? It's not as if the state debt gets paid by the state children and the union gets paid by God, right? Where did that debt come from, and who is that going to be settled by? Why is their fiscal deficit every year worse than most states? Why is there devolution to the states continuously reducing every year by the increase of cesses and surcharges, and they're not able to give the fair share that the Union Finance Commission said they should give? I mean, it's a farce. I don't know what else to say. Here are people who don't know how to do their job, who are failing miserably at it, who have outperformed or underperformed the worst state possible, now trying to dictate to us as if they are the guardians of all that is good and right. They are the guardians of all our children and are worried that the parents are going to be profligate. The grandparents are not going to tell us how to do it right. The grandparents have been more profligate than the parents. Who are they to tell us anything?
So what do you believe is the way forward, Mr. Thiagarajan, if a legal solution is not the answer, as is very clear from the conversation that we were having just before you joined us? What do you believe is going to be the way forward to settle this issue?
As best I can tell, Shereen, the Constitution of India still applies. The Constitution of India, with all the amendments up till today, still applies. I don't see that there was a big lacune, there was a big gaping hole in the Constitution. The Union controls the states down to the last rupee of borrowing through 293.3. The Union can amend its act any way it sees fit. The states can amend their respective FRBM equivalent acts and still be under the heel of the Union. There is not even one hair's breadth of freedom left to the states to do things that the Union does not allow or does not want to happen. There is no room here, there is no lacune, there is no void that the wonderful wisdom of the Supreme Court needs to fill. There is no yawning gap that needs to be sorted through this committee of experts. Let the country continue to function, stop these diversionary tactics, stop this extra constitutional overreach. Nobody appointed the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court as the guardian of the people's wealth. The Constitution says the legislature approves the expenditure of money, not the Supreme Court, not the High Court. The legislature approves the expenditure of money, the legislature of elected representatives. Let them do their job. If there are excesses, the Union is more than equipped to control them, but they have to start with their own balance sheet and their own financial performance first. It's like people who are failing at 8th class telling college students, no, you better study harder and get a PhD. How does it make any sense? And then you have an external body that has never gone to school, that has no authority to be in school, trying to tell the college students, no, you have to follow this subject and not that subject. It is a farce. I don't know what else to call it. It's a complete farce.
Well, Mr. Thiagarajan, Yamini Iyer, Ratin Roy and Mr. Qureshi, as I pointed out, this is only one of the many conversations that we're going to have on this issue. This is not an issue that can be addressed adequately in one television show. What is a good freebie versus a bad freebie? Who defines it? Who gets to decide it? What will be the way forward on this issue? There are many questions that need to be answered. But for today, Mr. Thiagarajan, Yamini, Ratin Roy and S5 Qureshi, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18 on Business 360. We'll take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with more.